The Beatles weren't just a band, they were a revolution. But behind the fame, screaming fans, and timeless hits, something darker was brewing. In a rare and emotional reflection, John Lennon once opened up about his complicated relationship with Paul McCartney, the creative partner who helped build, and later break, the world's most iconic band. Lennon admitted that their friendship was a blend of admiration, competition, and quiet resentment. "Paul and I loved each other like brothers," he once said. "But brothers fight." And fight they did, not only over music but over control, identity, and the growing pressure that came with fame. The beginning of the cracks in the early days. Lennon and McCartney were inseparable, two dreamers from Liverpool writing songs that changed the world. Their chemistry was undeniable, and together they created magic. But as the 1960s went on, tensions started to rise. Paul became increasingly focused on perfection, while John, ever the rebel, wanted to explore deeper, more personal ideas. "Paul wanted things clean and polished," Lennon explained. "I wanted truth, even if it was messy." Their creative visions started to clash, and soon, so did their egos. The turning point came after the death of their manager, Brian Epstein, in 1967. "Without him," Lennon said, "we lost direction. Suddenly, there was no one to keep the peace. Paul took the lead, and John didn't like it. The Yoko factor when Yoko Ono entered John's life, everything changed. The band wasn't ready for the new kind of openness and intensity she brought. Paul, George, and Ringo felt that Yoko's presence in the studio disrupted their chemistry, but John saw it differently. "To me, Yoko was my other half," Lennon said. "She gave me the courage to be honest, even if that honesty broke the Beatles." What followed were emotional rifts, misunderstandings, and public disputes that splintered their brotherhood. Paul later admitted that he felt hurt and confused, while John accused him of being controlling. The feud spilled into their music, with songs like "How Do You Sleep?" serving as Lennon's fiery response to Paul's solo work. The world watched as two musical geniuses turned their heartbreak into lyrics, regret and reflection. Years later, Lennon softened when talking about Paul. In one interview, he confessed that the bitterness faded with time. "I never stopped loving Paul," he said. "Even when we fought, I wanted him to succeed. We just didn't know how to talk to each other anymore." He even admitted that Paul's song, "Yesterday," made him emotional every time he heard it. "It's beautiful," Lennon said. "He had that gift. He could touch your heart with a single line." It was clear that behind the rivalry, there was still deep affection and respect. Lennon knew that without Paul there would be no Beatles, and without the Beatles, there would be no John Lennon as the world knew him. A legacy beyond the feud before his tragic death in 1980, Lennon had started reaching out to McCartney again. "I think we would have written together again," Paul later said in tears. "We never really stopped being family." Today, their story isn't just one of conflict, but of connection. Two men who changed the world together, even when their paths split apart. Lennon's reflections remind fans that love and rivalry often walk hand in hand, and that sometimes, even broken friendships can leave behind immortal music. Because at the end of the day, John Lennon and Paul McCartney didn't just write songs, they wrote the soundtrack to humanity itself.